All right, guys, we are back with COVID Cabal once again. You guys just can't get enough COVID Cabal, can you? I'm hearing last night. It's like everybody's like, you gotta do another COVID Cabal tonight, guys. Guys, it's I love it. I love the passion. I love the passion. Everyone's nonstop COVID Cabal, but unfortunately, we got to save those for special occasions. Got to save the special COVID Cabal for only the most special occasions. And news that DECLASS stuff is coming out. Well, it's big stuff, but until we get it like in the public, I mean, we're talking the big bomb. That's what we're waiting for here. That's what we're waiting for here. So, look, all right, real quick with the wine today, because tomorrow we're going to be doing basically a massive amount. We're doing double Periscope back to back tomorrow with the dating relationship and COVID Cabal. Ben, I just really need to just update it like it's all ready. So any day now. I'm not giving out any more updates on it. It's just going to happen. One day you're going to notice it's there. So if you haven't gotten it yet, I mean, just get it because I'm not doing anything else, right? I'm not giving any more announcements about it. I've already taken too long to put it together. So tomorrow we got the double COVID Cabal, and we're going to be taking that opportunity to just crush the Tuscan Reds. Okay, so we're still trying to finish off in this household all the wine that was already open. So we're taking it easy tonight. And fortunately, I found a bottle from Friuli that I forgot to open for us. Okay, this is a very interesting producer. And I'm going to show you guys exactly where this is. This is Italian wine, but we're talking like 1 mile from the Slovenian border. Okay, and I think that the farmer is actually Slovenian. Now you can see that actually most of the stuff here is in Slovenian. I'm going to show you exactly where it is. All right, it is right there. Renato Caber. That's it. Look at that. So very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to trying it. Only downside is that I just found it and it's not really cold. It's cool. So hopefully it'll still be all right. That is good. Man, this is so good. This wine is so, so good. It's really, really rich flavors. You got peaches. Man, so many peaches in this. Peaches, apricots. Peaches, apricots, even orange, which you don't usually get a lot in wine. I can see salmon. Salmon's here. So, guys, this is a great wine. This is one of those white wines that you could just throw back. It's so good, and I may yet do that. All right, I'm gonna just show you one more time because I know you guys like to. This is definitely a highly rated one, highly recommended, and this is even a little bit warmer than it should be, and it's still just crushing it. So make sure you grab this, find it, grab it, take those pictures. All right. You guys still want to bet more on Trump? Guys, I'm done with this stuff. The 3D matrix is collapsing, and that's including bets. I mean, I'm done with the 3D matrix. I'm done with all that bullshit. No idea what's gonna happen with all that. It's like the entire thing is collapsing. Look, we do have some big stuff happening. The main things I want to focus on today, though, I mean, we're still waiting, guys. We are still waiting. We're not there yet. We're not there yet, but we feel things brewing. We got more and more soldiers coming into DC. I've been now hearing that we have soldiers coming to National Guard being deployed in multiple other major cities. Okay. I think we're up to 26,000, 26,000 in DC. It's a crazy number for that small area. And in addition to that, we have the governments across the world resigning. Now, I know that some of you have been telling me, well, look, we need to be aware that some of these governments, right, maybe there are other things going on. Like people are talking about, for instance, in the Netherlands, like, well, this is unrelated this had to do with mismanaging of some funds for some children's thing. I don't know, whatever. And that we can't, jump to conclusions with it. It's not associated. People were saying the same thing with the wins in Washington State. I just want to point out, okay, I just want to make the point here. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just want to make the point that you have to pay attention to bigger patterns. And what you're told, the reason for something, is not necessarily going to be the reason. I mean, they are not going to tell you, like, for instance, we have now in Quebec and now Ontario, massive curfews for COVID, right? For COVID. But think about that for a second. I mean, why is it being applied in these provinces? Why are they making massive restrictions on movement at night? Well, they're doing that because they're trying to watch for other things. It's like every city that this has happened to has been somehow connected to global cabal activity. Okay? United Kingdom now is completely shut down to outside traffic. It's pretty significant stuff. And they'll say, well, that was because of COVID. It's like you need to move past accepting anything at face value, okay? Accepting things at face value is very 3D. And when you get in the 4D, you start to actually question, right? And ask yourself, well, why is that the case? Is what we see here really what we're getting here? And then you ground yourself in a deeper 5D, knowing that there are no coincidences. That there's no coincidences. So look, I don't know what's going on with the Dutch government in particular, but we have a lot of governments toppling across Europe. All right. We just heard the Russian ministry is now resigning too. So we have Russia going down, Russia's ministry going down. Although I don't think Putin, I'm not sure about Putin himself. But we are seeing the old world collapse in front of our eyes. We're seeing it collapse in front of our eyes. And you can't ignore that. You can't pretend that that's not happening and that that's not somehow connected to the bigger picture here. Okay? Italy is obviously the biggest piece, and their government collapsing is really no coincidence because we know what happened with Leonardo and Leonardi and the satellite. And we're also hearing that, the public is that scandal broke, but the public is also not entirely sure what's going on with the government collapsing. From what I've understood in Italy, the public is like, what is going on? I mean, and the Italian governments collapse very often. I think up until the 90s, there were more Italian governments than there were years that had passed since World War II, which means the average age of the Italian government was like 11 months, which is pretty awful. All that said, the timing is very interesting, right? Timing is very, very interesting. So look. All right, so look. So now we have DECLASS going on. Now I want to address some of this. I'm going to look at these questions real quick. But I want to check this stuff. I want to check some of the things that are going on here. Energy's foreboding tonight. Yeah. I mean, there is a lot. Yeah, so the Netherlands thing happened 10 years ago, all right? So that's pretty suspicious timing. That now 10 years go by, now you're going to hit it, right? Now you're going to hit it. Now this is going to be the big stuff. Yeah, Mexico's going down too. That's pretty crazy. That's getting pretty crazy. So, I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm looking at what you guys are saying here. The glass today is the Colio. Look, it's another one from Friuli. Very, very good. Highly recommended this one. All right, look. I want to talk about something that I think is on everybody's mind. Now, I think we're feeling pretty good. Last night the energy was really good. I agree, Ben. There's some foreboding energy going on right now. A little bit. There's something going on. I think that everybody is worried about one thing. Okay, we have Joe Biden talking about FEMA camps, right? We have Biden talking about FEMA camps. We have talking about 100 vaccines distributed in 100 days. We are starting to really see what they are going to do. And I think that what's on everybody's mind is what happens if, are we being faked out, right? Are we going to be faked out? Because if we are faked out, you have all these commanders continually coming out and saying, we are supporting Biden. And so you have this big question, and I think it's on the cabal's mind. I think it's on everybody's mind. Who is the military going to support, right? Are the National Guard are they there actually to, are they going to set off some false flags, and then are they going to blame Trump supporters and use it as an opportunity to basically go after us? Is that the idea behind the National Guard being there? Are the FEMA camps being set up for us, right? What's being set up here? Is it being set up for the cabal, or is it being set up for us? I think everyone's a little bit worried about that. And a lot of the people who are, let's say, Q skeptical, right? And they were sharing some stuff from the Russian Revolution. I saw this today, which is interesting. Basically talking about how the monarchist had a similar thing, saying about, you have to trust the plan. We have people infiltrated in their top ranks, the communist top ranks, and that, some made the argument that this reduced action early on when it was required, and it gave the communists the ability to take over the country. And I think that this is on everybody's mind. I mean, when you sort of look at this stuff, you have to ask yourself, how do you know? How do you know for sure? How do we know for sure what's going to happen here? And I guess that the reality is that on a 4D level, we don't. We don't on a 4D level. Now, I would say that the patterns look, if you have any trust in Trump, if you have any trust whatsoever in the armed forces of the United States, I mean, I can tell you that the armed forces, yes, the military, the military follows their orders, but the armed forces a lot of these people are very aware of what's going on. And I think that you would find it very difficult for them to swallow doing this to their own population. I think it doesn't really feel right. But the upper ranks, who knows, right? Upper ranks may order these things. And so how do we know? How do we know what's going to happen? 4D tells us that we don't know what's going to happen. And there's a reason for this. There's a reason that there's so much disinformation that's going around, because the cabal has no ability to get into 5D. They have no ability to get to that higher perspective. It's not possible for them. When you make that choice in your spiritual trajectory, when you are oriented towards power and domination over others, and when you close your heart center completely and you focus entirely on logic, elaborate logic games, okay, what you get, you're not able to perceive in that higher perspective. You're not able to do it. Okay? It's not possible. 5D transcends. That's why it wins in the end. That's why God wins, because God is higher dimensional thinking. Okay? So we have that. And I don't know about you. It just feels to me like it's going the right direction. Everything feels to me like it's going the right direction. It's going to play out correctly. It's going to work. And look, I got to tell you guys, if it's not, this is a really important point. I really want to make this point. I've wanted to make this point for a while, and for whatever reason, I haven't done it yet. But first, I'm going to check these questions, and I'll make the point. Let me see this. Let me see here. Let me see. Salmon's in 8D, right? Yeah, we've got all the declassification stuff going on. The Obamagate stuff is going to blow this fucking lid open. All right? I know the media is going to continue to suppress this stuff. Media is going to try to suppress this stuff. But, we have states of emergencies being declared in multiple states, Tennessee now. Romeo, I love it. You're always rocking this Ribera del Duero. I love it. That Ribera del Duero I got was so good. If you guys remember that one, that was a while back. That must have been back in like September. That was some good stuff. Yep, they're setting the stage for a Trump comeback. Everything feels like it really, really feels like everybody's waking up. I know that there's a lot of people who aren't waking up, but what I mean by this, okay, there's a proportion of the population that are complete mindless sheep, and they are not in a position to do anything. All right? 3D people are not going to do anything. Do you understand that? 3D people, useless. Absolutely useless, regardless of whether they're on our side or not. Completely useless at the moment. They are unable to affect any change. It's the 4D people that are waking up to that. I mean, they are awake by definition in 4D. But my point of this is that they are coming now to the conclusion that not only are things wrong, but that something needs to be done. Okay? And so when you combine that sort of 4D, we're not going to take it anymore. We don't believe you. We're not going to take it. When you combine that with the 5D holding the field, certainty of outcome, we have the victory here. There are not a lot of 5D people in this country, but there are a lot more 4D people than we give credit to. There's a lot of 4D people in this country, and 4D is above the line of integrity. Okay, these are people who are willing to do things. The sheep don't matter. They've never mattered. Guys, the entire thing about like why small minorities affect change. Remember Super 4D Nassim Taleb. Remember his, the minority rules, right? He's talking about things a little bit differently. He's talking about, but there's this theme with him that when he mentioned this passionate minority, that they're the ones that everybody bends to them. What you have there, especially in a revolutionary kind of situation, is that those who are more awake have higher energetic fields that shift the plane. Okay, Christ, 1,000 level on the attraction on the vibration field, right? Christ consciousness shifted almost like a significant portion of all of humanity, completely changed the entire course of human history. Okay, that's how much of an impact the higher dimensionality way of acting is. And so we're trying to shift more from 4D to 5D, but all these people who are moving, a few who are moving from 3D to 4D and the rest who are in 4D, they're not going to accept anything going the other direction. They're not going to accept it. It's not going to happen. So when people say, oh, the awakening is not occurring, sorry, it is occurring. But I mean, don't look to the sheep, because they're not going to wake up until they get the emergency broadcast bombarded to their phone over and over and over again, and they see, Don Lemon crying on videotape confession that that he's been blackmailed and probably killed a child. I don't know, whatever Don Lemon did, but these people suck. They're criminals. The point is that they're not going to wake up until they see that. And they may not even wake up then. Okay, they're just going to be confused and broken. All right. So the point I'm trying to make here is that with this level of awakening, it's not going to go that direction. And I think there's arguments that I saw about, how this is a mirror of the Russian Revolution, just trust the plan. People didn't understand what communism was. There was no awareness of the communist threat, because the communist threat was an entirely new phenomenon. And also, from what I understand, there was a very passive aspect to this trust the plan back during the communist revolution in Russia. Whereas now, our plan is actually, there's a ton of engagement. We have been incredibly, like these periscopes, right? People spreading the word has been incredibly important with the battle. I mean, that's why Flynn called us digital soldiers, because we're actively changing the shape of the battlefield. And I know that people, some people think we're LARPers. I don't think anybody thinks I'm a LARPer anymore, but some people think we're LARPers because we just talk online, right? But when you understand the nature of the battlefield is primarily at this juncture information, then information is where you want to be fighting. And actually, sloppy kinetic actions will only go and hurt the cause, right? You have to be careful about that, because it only hurt the cause. So I wanted to say all that, and I wanted to segue that into this main point that I wanted to make. The main point I wanted to make is that all these people who are really pissed off and annoyed at the trust the planners, right? Trust the plan, see, nothing happened, and now we're fucked. We could have been here. How many of those people actually would have done anything? How many of them would have actually done anything? Like, let's be fucking honest here for a second. Everybody who's saying Q is bullshit, people should have been taking action, would they have taken action? What are you suggesting exactly? Like, let's be realistic here for a second. What were you organizing? Nothing. They weren't organizing anything. Now, maybe BAP and some of his crew have some secret stuff, and that's fine. But we're talking like 99% of the people who have been making fun of the Trust the Plan wouldn't have done fucking anything anyway. So we have to let this play out. Regardless, it was going to play out. If you understand anything about energy, I talked about this before with War and Peace and Tolstoy, criticizing historians who said, and then this person made this decision at this battle, and then, that changed, what happened next, and then this, and he said, that's not what happened. That's all bullshit. Because that's only true from like the third dimensional realm. Whereas if you look higher up, you can see that there is a movement of energy. Okay? We talked about this. There's a movement of energy from west to east that was propelling the French Imperial Army towards Moscow. And then in Moscow, that energy broke and the energy moved the other direction. And that the actions of these individuals were in many cases completely irrelevant. They were helpless in the flow of events. He was defending the Russian general. I think his name was like Kutsagin or something like that. I can't recall his name. Maybe one of you guys remember it. Who got mocked quite a bit by historians because he was not doing anything really. He wasn't trying to get into direct action. And Tolstoy's like, he understood that the French were being destroyed simply by the energy of the situation, that they were withering away, and that there was no point throwing more things against them, because then the Russians would have continued to get burned away in the same situation. In fact, he noted that they did, that the Russians pushing the French out, they weren't really pushing the French out. Everybody was just being depleted in the movement. In that all these, the Brazino River, right? The famous frozen, the river of the, Battle of the Frozen River. All these things, they stand out in history books, but they're kind of irrelevant. That's a situation we're in right now. So anybody who tells you that we should have been doing stuff earlier and that we were stupid to trust the plan or whatever, wouldn't have A, done anything anyway, but B, did not understand the energy. Because I'm going to tell you guys very directly, if there is going to be some sort of popular uprising in the United States against the cabal, that may involve violent action. I'm not encouraging this. I'm just saying, if we do have CCP president, okay, that is going to happen because the energy is going to get to the point in the country where it's ready to happen. And that energy is building, but it's not there yet. You understand? It's not there yet. And anybody who says it should have been done before, it should have been done on the 6th, right? It wasn't ready yet. The population was not ready for it yet. So you have to understand this stuff. You have to understand the flow. And a lot of times the best thing to do, actually, from a 5D perspective, is nothing. You wait, you wait, you wait. Okay, now. That's how it works. It's not this sort of, we have to act now, we have to do something. That is anxiety. You understand? That's anxiety. That comes from a lower consciousness way of operating. That comes from fear. Doesn't come from a flow. I said this at the New Year's Eve Periscope. We will know when it's time for us to do something. We are going to know that. It'll be very, very clear to us when we're going to do that. But until then, the best thing we can do is keep an eye on things, right? Pay attention. But we don't need any more information to tell us what's going on. The reality is that it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen around the inauguration. And if it's not going to happen, it doesn't matter because we know where the energy is going. The energy is moving against them. And so any sort of three-dimensional thing that is attempted to occur is going to get broken because there's nothing that they can do that's going to withstand against the tide. The tide is awakening. The tide is higher consciousness. The tide is love. The tide is freedom. The tide is breaking this criminal structure. That is where the tide's going. We are done with being controlled. There's nothing that they can do to stop that. That genie does not go back in the bottle. All right. So let me go check out these things. Let me go check out all this stuff. I don't know if Biden will still be around by March 2021. I've said this before. My biggest guess, if I had to go with what does my intuition say is going to happen, we are going to get an interregnum. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that they will swoop in and block Biden presidency, and Trump may remain titular president. It's going to be one of these things that Biden may have been sworn in as president, but he's not given any power by the military due to investigations. And Trump maybe remains titular president, but he's not allowed to involve himself with many of the affairs of state. And effectively, the military runs things until a special prosecutor can sort out the situation. And that is what I think is going to be, it's what I feel is the most likely scenario, that we're going to have, depending on how you look at it, no president or two presidents until that sort of time frame between the equinox and Easter. That's what feels right to me. And I think that Trump's last actions before he steps aside are going to be appointing special prosecutors and declassifying lots of information. I don't think we're going to see pardons of Assange. Well, no, we could see it. We could see it in his last days in office. Yeah. Last days in this term is what I mean. If not now, it's definitely going to come in April, like 100% in April. But probably if he has more pardons planned, probably Assange will be one of them. And that's going to be one of the things. So we're going to have Trump steps aside, military stops Biden from entering the White House. Okay, he's been sworn in. They stop him from entering the White House, and they basically have a lid on things. That's what I think is going to happen. And in the meantime, all this information is going to be pouring out. And they are going to continue to say things about what their new plans are and what they want to do. It's going to keep coming out. So, and yeah, and guys, this is another great point. The best question: what will happen? Do you trust in Trump or not? And I know that some people, it's not even about not trusting in Trump. They think that Trump's been, taken over in a coup and Trump has no ability to do anything. That to me comes from a position of fear. I don't see any indication that would actually happen to Trump. Okay. It doesn't make any sense to me based on what we've seen, his connection to the military. The military loves him. Okay. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me that they would box him into this situation. I don't think that they have that much power. But I do think that they're being led to believe that they have power still, because that's required for them, because they are so like we talk about this, the borderline personality disorder girl. They'll keep lying and they won't understand that you can see through their lies. And so they fool you very easily, but once you understand them, once you break the programming, then they're very easy to fool. Like you could catch them in the act. I mean, who pointed this out the other day? One of the shows I was listening to pointed this out. I mean, how fucked up do you have to be? Like, how much in hubris do you have to be Nancy Pelosi asking the military for the nuclear codes from the sitting president? That is overt sedition. It's overt. Like, carries the death penalty to 20 years in prison. So you have to be really off your, blinded by this sense of nobody will do anything to me, I'm totally safe, to actually go forward and publicly say that. And that's why it's reasonable to suggest that they are in a big trap, because their egos are so big. They're so used to getting what they want. And by letting them continue to go on and on, think about this for a second. Let's take a step back and let's step into their psychology. These are people who have been criminals for pretty much their entire lives. They have been doing terrible things. They have been selling out this country. They've been getting rich off of it. They've been killing and trafficking children. Okay? They have been doing the most heinous crimes in history. And you know what happened? Nothing to them. Nothing. In fact, the opposite. They've moved to the highest levels of power. All right? And they did all that. And then what happened? They blatantly stole an election. 2 elections. They blatantly stole it in front of everybody. Everybody saw it happen. Okay? If you want to know where the evidence is, go to hereistheevidence.org. Okay? If you have a week of your life, you can go and look through every single bit of evidence documented. Don't say there's no evidence. You fucking idiot. Don't say there's no evidence. You fucking idiot. It is all over the place. If you want to do your own research, people were kind enough to put it in one place so you don't have to. You can stay lazy. Look at hereistheevidence.org and have fun going through 10,000 documents. How about that? 10,000. So they did all this stuff. And what's happened? Nothing. So it seems they have, they got Biden across all these different legal finish lines, right? They even managed to frame a false flag on Trump supporters to make Trump supporters look bad. And they are so confident they think they can get away with anything that they're going full bull crazy. They're not even pretending anymore. They're not even pretending. And so you have to understand that that is done for a reason by the white hats. They are doing this stuff because they are in a position now where they feel like no one can touch them. They're completely blinded to public reality. They don't care. They feel invulnerable. And that is exactly where you want your enemy to be. Appear weak when you're strong. That's the art of war. And the white hats want them to seem weak. And they're even feeding them the lie like, oh, yeah, the National Guard, military is completely on your side. That's why we have the National Guard here. They're protecting you, and they're actually prepared to grab Trump supporters and put them in FEMA camps. And, Pelosi and all these people, they're like, yes, that's exactly right. Haha, we have it all. They can't stop us. It's impossible to stop us. That's what's going on right now. They continue to get away with impunity, and they have no idea about how the public's seeing things. If we were going through an actual communist revolution, guys, we would not be seeing all this stuff roll out until they had full control. Remember, all this stuff, you have Bush Jr., big fucking idiot, right? Very harmless, big idiot. And how much damage was done to the country under him? Obama, friendly neighborhood, black guy who can talk to educated white people. Folks, right? All these people who were designed to let down your guard so that then they could sneak in. They could sneak in and they could consolidate power. That was the plan. And they were doing that very successfully until Trump came along. People always talk about this. They're like, well, I like Trump. I just wish he wasn't tweeting so much. I just wish that Trump wasn't saying these mean comments to people. Shut up. You don't understand. You don't get it. Because when Trump would go direct against these people, he would break them out of their facade. When Trump said to Hillary Clinton, you'd be in jail, that's when the demon gets angry. That's when they get angry. That's when they start to drop their act. And then people start to see it. And so they're like, well, Trump's an asshole, but man, I had no idea how corrupt these people are. Yeah, well, you only know how corrupt they are because Trump's an asshole to them. Because he calls them out. Because he will go direct when they're indirect. And then lulls them into a false sense of security where they feel like they can drop the mask. And that's exactly what he's done. It's a brilliant strategy. It's a brilliant, brilliant strategy. And so, guys, when we look at this entire thing and we're like, well, we don't know what's going to happen, when you see this battlefield being laid out, where do you think it's going? Where do you think it's going? Where does it feel like it's going? Trust in Trump. Trust in him. He said he would. He's told us very directly. This is not the end. It's the beginning, and he's never conceded. And we know how smart he is. Normies will keep saying he's an idiot. You know, the billionaire president who's a total idiot. They're smarter because they read the newspaper. So let me keep going down here. Let's go down here. Yeah, I know Obama is Saudi intel. I didn't know about that he was groomed by Saddam Hussein. Didn't know about that. Yeah, I heard about the Gregory Conte and Richard Spencer stuff. Yeah, I mean, Richard Spencer, look, these fucking wingnats. I mean, you know, it's hilarious. All these, you know, white nationalist people, they're always feds. They're always involved with the cabal. They're always down there to prey on people and to try to lower your frequency down. And then it's just like all entrapment bullshit. It's all entrapment bullshit. Yes, quantum financial system is coming. It's going to be very interesting to see how that looks. Nancy, Kamala, Biden, Mitch are all clones. Could be. Now, the question is, though, I mean, who's controlling those clones? Who's controlling them? You know, are they down there in their underground bunker controlling these clones? I don't know. I know that I've heard Hillary's been dead for a while. That, like, she's been frozen in Greenland or something like that. I've heard some crazy stuff. Love it, live it. Box one is best, and you know this. I'm gonna block you. I'm just joking. But tempted to block anybody who says box one is best. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going down here. Yeah, Biden. We all know that Biden is not the same person as was in 2019. Something's shifted. We don't know what it was. Could be the clone. Could be something else. You know, I haven't seen a clear reconciliation for these things because the outcome is written already. The outcome is written already, but I do not get the sense that you know, and Trump may have seen the outcome on the timeline. I don't get the sense that we are watching all these, like, that Trump knows these people are clones and that the entire. I don't get that sense. It feels to me very much like we still have moves and counter moves going on. And I think a lot of it is like it depends on what perspective you look at it at. Like we're in this sort of paradox where on one level everything is happening as it was pre-planned, and that all that we are watching a movie. Whereas on the other hand, when you drop down, you know, Trump and his team are very much trying to gauge each next move that they make to try to achieve the optimal timeline, because the timelines have moved a little bit. So we do know that there's been, even though the outcome always, you know, whatever they do rebounds back on them, and we get back into, you know, if anything, we get faster to ascension. Um, but that it doesn't feel to me like, oh, all of it's fake. Like I'm skeptical of those comments. I try to keep an open mind with it, and you know, the clone thing is very much a reality that we have to grapple with this, because we can see very clearly that some of these people look different. I mean, and so are we dealing with a permanent body double? Is it a cabal clone? Did Biden get taken away and they didn't want to admit that, so they put a new one in there, and that's why they're going to get rid of him and put Kamala in, because you know they're using the old Biden. You know, I don't know. I don't know about this stuff. I don't know that I'll ever know, but we do know that there's some crazy stuff here. Salmon AI, right? Salmon is a quantum computer. Salmon's a quantum computer who just can't seem to get any bets won. That's the only problem. Salmon's a quantum computer, but no bets going through. Well, I think with the mass awakening is there going to be a mass awakening? I mean, I'm by the way, guys, I'm going to try to I'm like 200 comments too slow here. So let me keep going down here. Let me see. Like people are going to awaken over a long period of time. I mean, I can see this going on for years. Like people are not going to wake up in a month when this stuff breaks. They're going to have a really, really hard time because they're just so far behind our level of awareness as to what's going on. Right? Let's see. Did I do an actually? Did I do that? The Thule camp in Greenland. So will you explain about this? Maybe you have more awareness of the clones. So are they just hiding in their underground bunker? Is that what's going on here? And they sent their clones above ground to take the hit. Is that what's going on? I'm being serious. I like I'm trying to reconcile these two things, and that's the only thing I can really do. All right, let's see. Ollie's been deplatformed quite substantially. He's been deplatformed quite substantially, and you know they really went after him because he was so connected overtly. I also have to say, guys, and you know I hesitate to say this kind of stuff. I don't want to jinx anything, but you know I know that there's like people have mixed feelings about Ali. Some people don't like him. Some people, you know, really like him. Um, you know, I think that what he was doing was of great service to the country. You know, he was putting a lot of work in to organize these events. My sort of perspective with Ali is that he had a lot of ego invested. He had a lot of ego invested, and that would drop him into lower states of consciousness because it became too much about him. Even though he was doing a higher good, it became a little bit too much about him. And I think as well, because of that, he's become a massive target because they go after people who are in resistance to them. And like I said, I don't want to jinx anything, but I mean, you guys know how out there I've been. And sometimes it really feels to I mean, I know I'm being protected. Again, I don't want to jinx it. I mean, I'm not trying to get cocky with this. I'm very grateful. But it feels to me like bullets just fly by me. Right? It feels like and I'm not nearly as high profile as Ali. So totally get all that stuff. But you have to understand that when you're in such direct resistance and when you make it about you, that's an easy vector for them to take away. They'll go after it, right? They'll go after it. They'll remove it. It's going to be really interesting with Austin Steinbart. I just want to say I don't have I still withhold judgment on Austin Steinbart, but I will never forget what Majestic said. Austin is not, despite what you might think, Austin is not a nobody. And that always stood out with me. And I could tell that he wasn't a nobody. He has a role to play. It's unclear whether he's Q or not, as far as I'm concerned. But he has a role. And I think that we will see that role unfold. It's quite crazy. All right, I'm going to go through this real quick. 5 minutes. I don't know about higher than 5D in our lifetime. It really depends on our DNA activation. That's what it really depends on. Because I don't think in our current state that we can do more than that. Well, yeah, I mean, having been in the Capitol, I mean, as I look back on it and I look at the video footage, I mean, it almost seems like a movie script. Everything almost like it almost seems like, and, you know, there's been a lot of stuff about Babbitt. You know, that girl's actually a crisis actor. People have claimed to have seen her. Who knows if that's true? I mean, who knows if it's true? It seems like people are not. My personal feeling is that she's not a crisis actor. That maybe she was MK Ultra or something like that. I don't know. Let me see. Check out this stuff. I love you too. Well, I appreciate all you guys. Wait until we're all in gulags and CCP controls. Thanks for. All right, I'm just gonna stupid shit. Return Mike. See this guy. This I have the loser again. Continues to watch all my stuff. It's unbelievable. Let's keep going down here. Keep going down here. Going down here. Why am I wearing a Jewish T-shirt? What back in the day I did Krav Maga for about a year. Someone's toe got torn off in one of my classes. Not like from any sort of his toe got caught between the mats and it just like popped right off. It was awful. Poor guy too. I talked to him a couple months later and they got it back on, but it like permanently messed up his foot. And so now he can't like run on a curve. Like he can't change directions fast or his toe might break off again. It's like really unbelievable. All right, I'm scrolling down here. Scrolling down. As President Trump made a statement that hasn't been proven true, Q. Also, we know that Trump's involved with Q. So I think, honestly, because you can see the statements he makes. So if you trust Trump, you have to trust Q at least to an extent. Will I run for office? Maybe in the new world. It really depends. It depends if the people want me to run. Depends if it's in alignment. I don't know what's going to come. I have no idea what's going to come with that. We'll see what the system demands. Salmon's my running mate. Yeah. Salmon's going to be my assistant. Salmon's going to pick out the next bottle of wine for me to drink. That's why he has to pay attention to these periscopes. Because he needs to learn wine. Salmon, you're not going to get the job if you don't understand wine. I expect only the best ones for you when you go out and you shop and you pick up stuff. It's got to be the best. Hey, brother, I don't have your question in front of me. I apologize for that. I just recalled it. I will get to it tomorrow. Okay, I'll get to it tomorrow. But guys, I gotta run. You know, we're still waiting. Good stuff is gonna come, and don't stress about it. Don't stress about it. We got this. We know we have it. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow.